From street meat in Manhattan to the meat grinders in the Midwest. This week on Trench Life, we do a film breakdown of the intriguing matchup between Oklahoma and Michigan. Take you behind the scenes for a day in the life of an Iowa Hawkeye and show you around practice in Ann Arbor with their offensive line coach and one of the greatest Wolverines to ever do it. So make you a plate and grab some extra sauce packets because Trench Life starts now. All right, now it's time for First Step, where every great show and every great block begins. And we saw some incredible football this past weekend. This was a monster slate of games, and it delivered. And even though my alma mater, Notre Dame, got their face curb stomped at the end of that game by a much more physical Miami team, they were in that game. C.J. Carr, he checked every box I was hoping to see from him. We are going to win and win a lot with that guy. The lines of scrimmage have some work that they need to do. We're just not big enough on the defensive front, but we're super athletics. We're going to have to scheme our way into some wins until we can get some bigger bodies up there in the trenches. And the offensive line, they've got some work to do. But Joe Rudolph, the O-line coach, will be up to that task. And the tough thing, I was thinking about this, like that is a tough game to get whipped up front on both lines of scrimmage, and everybody in the world sees it. Your teammates see it, your family sees it, your opponents see it, your upcoming opponents see it, and you have to be able to fight through the human nature to get the sorries and start feeling sorry for yourself. You've got to lick your wounds and get back to the drawing board. Football and ball don't care. It's a sport that requires you to get back to the process, but that's incredibly hard to do when you've got expectations, when you've put in the hard work, when you have friends and family and coaches and teammates and student bodies that are counting on you. But the goal, the way that you erase it, is go get a win against Texas A&M if you're Notre Dame. If you're Clemson, look at what you did well, correct what you didn't well, and go fix it. Texas, you got some work to do, but guess what? It's a long season. Everybody after weeks ones, your dreams, your goals, your aspirations in this new modern college football are all on the table. So once again, life ain't about what happens to you. It's about what you do about what happens to you. And there are some teams that have some work to do, but everything that they wanted to accomplish is still within reach. With all that said, I'm talking to you, Alabama. Listen up. Come in here. That was awful. Not the way you played, not the result, the effort. Watching your defense loaf the way that you did is inexcusable. How that's been allowed to continue and go on as long as it is, I have no idea. But in football, cliches are cliches because they're true. And what you put on tape is who you are. So you're either coaching it or you're allowing it. But what we saw that weekend from you is inexcusable and unacceptable. And I don't know if you can fix that with just a team meeting or a couple rah-rah speeches. This requires you to look in the mirror and determine and figure out who it is you are and what you're willing to commit to play this game. What I believe we're seeing happen, and it's not just at Alabama, this is nationwide, is that human nature is starting to kick in and take over with a vengeance. It is hard, and I know this for a fact because when I received money as a first-round draft pick out of Notre Dame and got all that money, there's part of me, after my senior year in the prep for the combine and the draft, I took my foot off the gas pedal just a little bit. Now, I'm not proud of that. But when I'm honest and I look back at myself, my human nature took over and got the best of me in that moment. And I was as good of a leader and as hard of a worker and had as high of goals and aspirations as you could want. These players in NIL, they're having generational wealth or money or opportunities that makes that hunger just a little bit less. And what I believe we saw in Tuscaloosa was a bunch of guys that were happy to be there. A bunch of guys that put on that helmet, put on that A, and thought the other team was just going to lay down for them. The flip side of that was what Florida State showed. Man, tight end 13, come on. Transfer from UCF, that dude was taking people's souls. The effort, the attitude, the demeanor. So it's not the money, it's not the logo, it's who you are as a person. And right now, Alabama needs to figure out who the hell they are. The X's and O's and the corrections and the offensive breakdowns, all that stuff can be fixed. But you can't fix complacency. And in my opinion, that's what Alabama's struggling with. And if they don't get that figured out, it's not going to be good for anybody. But good things can happen when you commit to the process. And one of the schools that's best in the nation that I've ever seen at doing that has to do it, are the Iowa Hawkeyes. And earlier this summer, I had a chance to go to Iowa City and spend a day in the life of an Iowa football player. Well, it's 8 a.m. on a Friday, and we're here in Iowa City to show you what it's like to spend a day in the life of an Iowa football player. Hopefully I won't have to ice my knees and shoulders as much as I used to back in the day. Come on. First things first, and here at Iowa, that means strength and conditioning. So here, we're at the warm-up portion before they go in the weight room to continue to develop and maintain that strength that they developed during winter conditioning, spring football, and all the summer lifts that they're doing. Just walked across the rocks there you can see with the tender feet. That's to be able to activate the feet and massage them a little bit. It was a little tender for me. But these are the big guys over here, and they're going to lift as a group. Everything that Iowa does here is by positionally, and that's just kind of what our sport is about. But this warm-up portion is a really important piece before they go do inside what this school is known for. The old foam roller. This by far will be the most comfortable thing that these guys do all day long. It's rolling up, activating those muscles, breaking up that muscle tissue to get them warm before what we're about to go watch them do inside. From here on out, the level of intensity and pain starts to increase. One of the things I'm seeing already is just how efficiently this practice is being run. No sooner did these players get done with the foam rollers and lacrosse balls rolling out and breaking up the muscle tissue than you have another staff person that comes in and picks it all up. It's all about efficiency, and that's a sign of a good program. You saw the side lunges they were doing with the maces. That's to warm up and activate, but also illustrates the bend. For an offensive lineman, you gotta be able to bend at your ankles, at your knees, and at your hips. The first thing the players did after they warmed up is they come on and get on what I like to affectionately call the lie detector. Let's go see what the lie detector says about me. I'll take it. Like in most sports, there's a direct connection between what you do here in the weight room that translates out onto the field. The lifeblood of this sport not only is recruiting, it's strength and conditioning. And here at Iowa, doing hang cleans is a critical, important movement to help develop the strength necessary to drive defenders off the ball. So what you're seeing the players do is load the bar up. Now, my form is terrible, so if you're part of the strength and conditioning community, do not crush me for how terrible this is about to look. But the concept is to explode through the hips, lift the weight up, come up underneath, and catch it. That explosive movement is what happens on the snap of the ball. What they do here directly translates out there, and I'll show you what I'm talking about shortly. See, these vibra plates are good for recovery. It's a critical, important piece of the workout when you're 52. I think I'm just gonna sit here and roll around on this bad boy for a little bit. Oh. So there it is. It's just a very short 30-minute lift, but they got a lot done because they moved efficiently, and you have to maintain or even gain strength in season if you can, and maybe nobody's better in the country doing it than they are here in Iowa City. You just never know who you're going to bump into. Greg Hudson, come on in here, big dog. This was my grad assistant, Greg Hudson. All right, dude, you go all over the country and see weight rooms like this and strength and conditioning programs. What makes Iowa different?
Well, it's big. And,
okay, thanks, guys. Enjoy America.
It's impressive. You know, they're taking a lot of pride in the straight bar exercises. You don't see a ton of machines, bungee cords. So you know that these guys are going to be squatting, and the flexibility. That's the one thing that I learned coaching them, but then being around all the strength coaches, you know, the bending, getting low, the hip strength, the balance. We called it when guys get in these racks, getting down in the well when you're getting low and pushing some steel around, because you're going to be pushing bodies around. You got to push a lot of steel around to be able to do that. You got to take it to the field.
Let's go. I would have walked here if I had to. You'll hear Coach Barnett talk about pad underneath pad, bringing your knees. You want to see your hands inside the base and driving 10 yards until they're on their back. When you overtrain and drive a player 10 yards, it's not realistic. You rarely will get that opportunity in a game, but if you train it, when that opportunity presents itself, you'll be able to bring it home. It's interesting, man. We're just watching these guys do base blocks before practice, and you were our GA back in the day, and I know Joe had a philosophy, Joe Moore, about not hitting sleds because he never saw them on the field. I've never been to an IR practice where I saw any sort of apparatus. You block people because that's what you do on the football field.
Yeah, Joe told me if you use a shooting board, I'll disown you. But the day before I left to be an O-line coach for the first day was Skip.
It was pretty clear.
That was it, and he's all right, good luck. And call me if you need me. And that's what he said, I'll disown you.
But what's so interesting, man, like you hear him say run off the football. Guys pitter-patter off the ball. That seems to be the standard. Not here. This is about running your feet and coming off.
And it's teaching confidence. You know, is what's come first, success or confidence? They're building confidence right here. And the other thing I like that you don't see a lot of places, the ones are playing defense.
Yeah.
So everybody's working with everybody, which is important. That's important for the young guys to see that early on. But Joe, I don't know if you remember, Joe would get mad and he would say the key to the drill is not the offense. The key of these guys giving them the look. It's hard to evaluate an offensive line, in my opinion, and know what's good and what's not good. Anybody can see a bad baseball swing.
Right.
You know, everybody can see the great swing, they can see a bad baseball swing, so they know. With this, you think just because a guy's big and he can push you around with some strength, that's a good block. And, you know, a lot of times it's not.
We were in the weight room and we saw these guys doing hang cleans, a lot of movement prep before they went in the weight room. They were only there 30 minutes. But that first explosive part of the block, that contact power, is all those hang cleans, it's all those deep squats. You look at the position that they're in when they're in a three-point stance, that's basically about the knee angle of where they are when they're at the bottom of their squat.
I would teach guys both first with offensive line, and I taught it the same with linebackers. Even out in air, I'd say, what's it like when you're halfway down in the squat? What position are you in? And they would get in, they would get down like this and go like this, and I'd say, drop your hands. And I'd say, well, then go to a three-point stance. So that's how I taught stance, because they could recognize that in their head.
One of the things I'm noticing here is how aggressive they're working this drill without helmets. That's a classic old school offensive line technique to teach you to keep your head out and not over lunge. Offensive linemen, one of the things we want to do when we're pass protecting is punch. That's the equivalent to throwing a haymaker. Good offensive line play when you're pass blocking, jabs, 6-inch jabs, punch, punch, punch. So when you take your helmet off and you're stepping down, it teaches you to do this versus do that where you can get beat. That ends the on-field portion of today in the life of an Iowa Hawkeye football player. But what's next is the most important part of the day, and that's lunch. I got here this morning and was watching you guys, do your dynamic warm-ups and stretch and lift and that whole deal. And the whole thing was kind of like a day in the life of an Iowa football player. It's one thing to take my word for it, but what was today like? How would you characterize it in context with what you guys have done from the beginning of camp?
Honestly, today's practice is really light. Like, it's really light. Usually we're out there for, what would you say, 2.5, 3 hours?
I think practice didn't start till like 9:30, and normally we're walking off the field at like 12:10.
Okay.
And that's with like Devo too.
And we usually do work after.
Yeah.
Young guys will like go out there and get their reps. We don't really get a whole lot of team reps, so we let them go, but pretty standard day for the most part.
How would you guys characterize your room? What type of dudes are making up?
I'd say it's been awesome. I mean, those guys don't probably say the same thing, best friends. Just like getting to hang out with them all the time is awesome. I think it's been built like I got to the room in 22, and it wasn't like super close at that time. But like we built it to what it is today. And Coach Barnett preaches on like the importance of having the close room. Like so, like now they're best friends. I don't want to hang out with anybody else. It's like, you know, people always make fun of us. They call us like what do they call us? A cult. They call us an online cult. It's literally just us, so they're awesome.
What do you think people don't understand or appreciate, not only about our position, but what training camp looks like?
I think like for us especially, just how like physically taxing like it really is, and it's like we looked at 2015, their schedule versus ours. It was ridiculous back in the day. Like I can imagine.
Yeah.
No such thing as an off day probably, but like it's still just so physically and I think probably more mentally taxing than anything. Because you got to show up, you got to compete against really good dudes every single day, and like you want to win the rep. You got to come back and do it the next day after that. Just the consistency of taking the wear on your body, like waking up in the morning, you know, wear a morning outfit.
Do you ever sit on the edge of the bed and contemplate whether or not you've made the right life choices? Be like, you know what? I played enough football. I don't have to go out there. I mean, I could shut it down today.
Yeah.
Every part of your body is hurting, like your fingernails, your eyelashes hurt. And somehow it takes you, 2-3 minutes the first couple days of camp. Towards the end of camp, in like 12 minutes, finally you stand up and you're ready to get after it.
Yeah, it's brutal. Especially for this guy. I mean, he's carrying 350 pounds. So.
I take a lot of creatine. I don't know, like I love camp. I wish it was longer.
Like, say more.
I love it.
It is better than spring ball.
Like all we do is just play football and then we just goof around. Like it's the best. I have a blast.
You like it's you're on recess. There's no responsibilities.
Literally, like we just go down to the locker room and we'll play we'll play Among Us together. Just like I'll just lay on the floor and I have a blast. I love it.
So describe your hoops game. Do you take people to the hole, or you back them down and body them and turn?
I mean, it depends. In high school, I can do a little bit of everything. You know, I was more so down in the post, but now, especially if I'm playing guys in the O-line room, they're all a little bit bigger and better than me, so I get to use. He can't hoop at all. I've never seen him touch a basketball. I know he can't hoop.
Yeah, I'm the same way, bro.
No shot. There's no shot.
I can jump, dude.
I've never seen it.
All right, whatever.
We'll have to see it after the season. But
Keep hating.
yeah.
All right, 1-on-1 to 11 with Caitlin Clark. What's the score?
She's winning for sure. I'm not going to say she's not going to win. I think I'll get it's 6-11.
You would get 6. How would you get those 6?
I'd have to take her down to the post.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just body. Now she's proven she can take some blows and she's physical. They try to be pretty physical with her, so that might not throw her off her game as much as you think.
That's true. Hopefully we don't have any refs and it's calling her own fouls. I'm going to be only shot I got is to be as physical as I can. See what happens, but
use what you got, right?
Use what I got.
Oh man. Well, Kirk just sat down here, and he and I shared a coach and a mentor in Joe Moore. I talked to you guys a little bit after practice about what he meant to me. What has Coach Barnett meant to you guys? What have you learned from him? How's he helped you develop as a player?
I mean, honestly, a ton. Like kind of what you talked about today. He's been preaching to us for the past. This is my 5th year, so for 5 years. Like, I mean, I came in, and I came in from a 1A school in Illinois. So it's like coming here is my first time ever pass blocking. So I had to learn from him how to pass block, and then like our run stance is a 3-point defensive stance. So I had to learn how to get in a real stance for Iowa football. And I mean, him and Coach Franks taught me everything football-wise, and then how to act too, and just kind of how to carry yourself. I just follow him and do whatever he tells me to do.
Yeah. You love playing online, don't you?
I do, yeah.
What's the best part about it?
I think it's celebrating a good play with your guard. Like as a tackle, like that's my favorite part. Like you crease them and then you look at your guard, you're like, oh yeah, maybe.
Whew. Well, that about does it here from Iowa City. 1:40. Our adventure started very early this morning. We saw these guys getting warmed up to go work out, lift some weights, go to practice, do individual, get to team, do some one-on-ones and the run in the pass game, and then finally finish with every offensive lineman's favorite part of the sport. That's training table and getting some lunch. As you can see, these guys put in work, and it's that work day after day after day all through camp that gets them ready for games like the Cy-Hawk Trophy coming up this weekend. It's been a beautiful time. These guys are great hosts. Thank you to Kirk Ferentz and the staff for letting us be flies on the wall and be a big piece of this. And we cannot wait to see what this Iowa Hawkeye team does this weekend and for the rest of the season. All right, few people break down offensive line play like our next guest, but quiet is kept. His favorite food is nachos. The problem is he just doesn't get to eat them as much as he'd like to. Lance Zierlein, welcome to the show, baby.
I've been losing weight. I can't have as many nachos. I'd like as many nachos as I can get, but you take what you can get.
Well, as many fans probably know, your dad was a long-time NFL coach, so you grow up in your living room watching film and being able to evaluate. Now you write every draft profile on NFL.com. Few people may be as qualified as you on the planet to be able to break down offensive line play, which is why you've been a Joe Moore Award voting committee member from the jump. But to set this thing up, in the scouting world, there's an old saying, if you see a lot, you see little. If you see a little, you see a lot. And what that means is you have to spot the details that those tell the story. So without any further ado, let's jump into some tape because Lance is going to break down some of the things that we saw, not only with Oklahoma's offensive line, but with Michigan's as well for their big matchup this weekend. All right, Lance, let's take a look at this first play from Oklahoma. It's just going to be a simple power play in the deep red zone.
The thing that I really like, I like rhythmic play, and that double team is a very rhythmic double team from the right tackle and right guard, AG. I think offensive line play, I know the big boys don't do a lot of – big boys can dance better than people think. We don't get enough credit for dancing.
Thank you.
That's because there's rhythm. Offensive line play is rhythm, baby. You got to – if you're going to hit that gallop step and work up to the linebacker, that is a rhythm. See, I remember the Fat Boys. That's the human beatbox, and it's kind of apropos here, I guess, a little bit. Although the lean muscle mass looks pretty good for Oklahoma. So we're talking rhythm though, Aaron, right? And so working up to that linebacker number 14. Look at 71 gallop step. I love the gallop step in. Pretty good contact. Finds number 14. Eyes never. His eyes were to a second level, knew where he wanted to go, and he sustained that block and helped to create. The one issue I do have a little bit is that I think the tight end, 81, rushes a little bit. You see, I think the settle steps, you don't see the same settle steps. He gets in a big hurry, and then 56 kind of gets to his outside shoulder, which causes the running back to cut it back inside. But so phase one, I would say, is it could be a little bit better for that tight end, 81.
I'm going to take a little bit of a different stance here. I think 81's the key block here, Lance. You've got to step hard across his face because a double team working to this backside linebacker's coming. So if 56 scrapes across the line of scrimmage, he's going to cut that guard off. What I love about it is that he does phase 1 and 2 and almost 3 really well here. The play, when you get to this position, he's got his face across the defender, but he doesn't give up on the play. Watch him fight and strain, and right there as the defender starts to come off, here's the lane. This play is supposed to break outside right here, but this unblocked defender, who they can't account for, is in the hole, and it scares him, and he peeks backside. But because this tight end strains just like you did, and that's one of the best things you've ever taught me about this position, and we're never done learning, are the 3 phases. You've got to win 2 of those 3 to be successful, and I think tight end 81 here wins those first 2, and that's the key block that allows this to go.
Now, pass pro. I think this one's pretty simple, AT, but I want to mention some very basic. Let's start at the left tackle. I love the fact left tackle doesn't get in a hurry here. Watch his hands. I don't want guys who are in a big hurry to punch when they don't need to. What happens is they lunge and they get beat by spin moves. You see him keep his weight back here, lets the tackle do what the pass rusher do what he's going to do on the spin move, but because his weight is back and his hands are ready and he's not lunging and leaning with those hands, he's able to handle that spin move. Really good job. Left guard, we're going to secure the B gap with our eyes, make sure nothing's coming inside, and he bounces back down to the A gap, and we're going to get a half slab. Let me get a half slab there. It's not full of barbecue sauce. We're not slathering the rib. We're just going to get the half slab with maybe some coleslaw. We're not trying to go too heavy with that slab, with that half slab. Your right guard, he's got long arms, and so I want to get on top of that little pass rusher as quick as possible, and we're going to shoot those, bang. Get that hand out there on him first. First in wins, and that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to use length, and we're going to use a firm right hand to start it. We go boom, boom, right, left, and in balance, good, nice width there. Center, I think, does a nice job. AT, a little vertical set, able to sit down on it. You got to be careful because when they face tougher competition like Michigan, you don't want to let that offensive line, defensive line get upfield with a whole lot of momentum because that. you could get pushed back into the
No
backfield.
doubt. So here we are in the red zone again, where games are won and lost in the trenches. This is just going to be a simple weak side zone where the play is designed where everybody's bossing over. This left guard, believe it or not, is combination blocking with this guy to this guy with the center. So everybody's bossed over to this weak side. So they're basically fanning on this side and coming out. So the play is going to stretch to the offense's right, but end up bending back because of some key blocks on the backside, including one by the quarterback. What do you see here, Lance?
It's a team effort. So as we watch that tight end, and Michigan does a good job of getting their tight ends involved, he's going to step up. And you see he's looking to secure, but he doesn't lose sight of number 7, a second block. And moving up onto number 7 is wiped out. If seven senses an early cutback, he could get across the face of number 7 and go ruin that play. But 7, the tight end, does a nice job of isolating him, and watch the climb up, the patience. He maintains his base, and then he connects with good inside hands. And that's something a lot of tight ends, and Aaron, you've seen it. Tight ends are either good or crap when it comes to hands on the second level. And Michigan does a good job of demanding their tight ends work with good hands.
Yeah, I love this backside block here by 44, man. This dude is quickly becoming one of my favorite players. Look, he's got his hands on. He's almost lined up like it's PAT right here, right? Well, that's by design. He knows he's got to cut off that defensive end, and he wins with his head position right here. But he doesn't. What's key for young players, when you have a position here, you've got leverage. So you're thinking, I've already won my block. And the lazy or easy or natural thing to do is to swing your hips around and try to wall off. But he doesn't do that here, and that's important because soon as you start to do that, you get your face crossed, and 45 tries to come across his face, but because he maintains his eyes and stays on this track, he's able to wash him out and still get movement forward, which creates this little bit of room right there to allow the back to move from number 6, who's unblocked right there. If the backside tight end gets washed out right here, it's flat and 6 scrapes right off there and boom, makes the tackle right there. So these are the little things, right backside where you stay on the track and you drive and accelerate. Look how tight his base is backside, Lance. That's how you sustain. That's what driving and finishing looks like. He's got a tight base. He's not pitter-pattering his feet. He's accelerating on contact, and that creates enough room to give the back space to evade number 6 who's unblocked. And then you got a quarterback who's in the mix. It's a pretty big dude himself. Yeah. And this is what Michigan football is about.
And how do you like this Bryce Underwood? This guy makes more in 1 year than you and I will make for our entire lifetime. And he said, you know what? Let me get a little taste of this. Number 19, that guy's a stud.
Buddy, and what that does in the locker room, in the huddle, you see that on tape. Like you'll go to battle and do anything for this dude. He's one of you. He's a blue-collar cat. They know how much money he's making. He's a quarterback. But if you're willing to sacrifice yourself to be able to make a block and show that you're also willing to get dirty, man, there is nothing more that a quarterback can do to endear himself to an offensive lineman than what we just saw Bryce Underwood do there. Michigan's got their hands full. Early on in the summer, I had a chance to go hang out at practice, get behind the scenes, and learn a lot about their team. Take a listen. All right, what's up? This is Aaron Taylor with Trench Life All Access. I'm with former absolute stud for the Wolverines, offensive lineman John Jansen. Got out of here in 1999. He's now the face, the voice, the body, everything, all Big Ten Michigan football. John, spent some time with you earlier today. We were talking about this team, but man, we just spent practice today. We just watched the Michigan Wolverines. There's a buzz. People are excited. Give us some reasons why this fan base should be excited about the step that I saw today that this team could take forward.
Well, I mean, for this team right now, early on, because there's so much development that has to happen on offense, it's going to be a defensive-led team. Against New Mexico, against Oklahoma, you're going to have to go in there and find a way to give your offense as many opportunities as possible. With those opportunities, we're starting to watch an offensive line develop. We're watching it. There's a lot of moving parts right now. They're trying to find the combination of the best 5 guys, where they fit, and there might be a guy right now at left tackle that needs to move into guard, or a guy at right that needs to move over to the left. That's what they're all ironing out right now, but every day that I've been able to watch practice, there's to step forward, and that's really exciting. And then you talk about the talent that you have at quarterback with Bryce Underwood. That's enough to get any Wolverine signed. And there's a lot of hype following him coming to Ann Arbor. He's a local kid. We know the recruiting battles and all that, but to be able to throw the ball downfield, have that threat this year, this is a run-first offense. I always will be. That's what Michigan is. But to have that threat really will let things happen.
What I was impressed with the young man is he had a nice, calm demeanor about him. He didn't seem like a young player. It certainly didn't seem like he was moving fast. But there was a humility to him, despite that spotlight that you mentioned. And I know for us, guys that used to huddle up and want to look in the quarterback's eyes when they come in, that's really important, isn't it?
It is, and it's hard you need leadership at that position. It's hard for a freshman to come in, and you probably have the same saying, a freshman or seen and not heard. When that is the standard, what are guys looking to for leadership? And he's shown this since he showed up on campus. It is meetings, film room. You got to put in the work. You got to do what you're asking your other teammates to do. He's done all of that. And that calm demeanor that you see out there today, it didn't just happen. And it's going to get better. But in spring ball, and even the first couple of days of fall camp, there's a couple of balls where he's sailing things because he's excited. He's 17 years old. He's going to be excited, but now that he's getting more comfortable with the environment around him, with his O-line, with his receivers, you're starting to see that calm demeanor that you're talking about. We saw red zone, we saw O-line, we saw a 2-minute drill. Like all of these things are what will help him develop that calm demeanor when it matters most on Saturdays.
We also saw Ohio period. Explain that.
It's one that we do every day, and we all know down in Ohio, they are talking about the same thing. It's about that 1D. And quite honestly, with all respect, if you can compete with Ohio State, you're going to be able to compete with everybody else on the schedule. So when you're preparing to compete with the best teams that you're going to face, in turn, you're competing against all those other teams you're going to face all the way.
Any good team I've ever been around, the offensive lines had to lead that charge. As it comes to chemistry in this unit that seems to have more depth, I'm talking the 2025 unit, who are some of the alpha dudes that you feel can take that next step to bring everybody with them to get the standard back to where it was when Michigan was the first ever back-to-back winner of the Joe Moore Award in 21 and 22?
It's always going to have to start with your veterans. And so Greg Crippen in the middle, at the center position, Giovanni Alhadi at left guard. Those are the guys that have the most reps, the most starts, the most experience when things have gone well and when things haven't gone well. Those are the guys you got to lean on. The one guy that I think is going to be vital to this offensive line is the young right tackle, Andrew Sprague. Sprague is a guy that he's probably got the deepest mean streak of the bunch. And when you finish a play, we all know you get an extra beat after the whistle, right? The referees are going to give you that. When you take that every single time and you start wearing on those defensive linemen, sooner or later they're going to lose patience and you're going to get a free 15 yards. But you've got to know when to pull off, and he's kind of got that time, that knack.
I had the pleasure of blocking for Brett Favre. I had the unfortunate pleasure of having him block Reggie White in practice at times. But every superhero has their origin story. You had a chance to play with Tom Brady before he came with Tom Brady. Give us some context on what that was like, and just from a leadership standpoint, practice, preparation, what would the average fan not appreciate about how far he came to be what is inarguably the greatest we've ever seen in this sport?
So Tom will probably tell you the same story, and you've probably heard it in regards to, like, he was always next in line. And then when he was the starter in, I think it was 96, in 98, he started a bunch of games, had a great season, and then we had a freshman come in 99, which is going to be his last year. That competition was still there, and nothing was ever handed to him. And I think that those moments, and right now, and Tom will tell you, he doesn't know what he would have done. But if the transfer portal would have been here, who knows what would have happened. But if he hadn't gone through those trials, if he hadn't been able to be forged by those moments, we may never have been able to have the opportunity to watch a guy play for 24 years and be the greatest NFL quarterback we've ever had. He may not have been the best college quarterback, and he wasn't. I'd be the first to tell you that. But all of those moments of being able to learn, compete, and pick yourself back up made him who he is.
Well, I'd be remiss if I didn't invite our next guest. Grant Newsome, come on over here, baby. Let's crash the party. Get on in here, man.
277s.
Whoa,
Yeah,
let's
no.
go. Y'all looking like you're weighing 277 between the two. Man, it was so fun watching your guys work today. Year over year, how have you improved as a coach? What did last year teach you, and how are you putting that to play now to help get this room to where you know it can be and where it's going to be?
Sure. I think the biggest thing for us this year has just been kind of consistency, both on-field play, but also just the swagger. I think there were times, come out with high expectations last year, you start the season slow. I didn't do a good enough job of keeping that kind of swagger up, that confidence up in the room, especially having a younger room or a less experienced room last year. We weren't as consistent as we needed to be. Not until kind of the end of the season at Ohio State, Alabama, you saw it kind of look like the Michigan offense side goes to being. So that's been the big thing for us.
All right, trap, power, counter, or duo? Which is God's play?
I would say it's two-back power. Get in the eye, let that fullback kick out, guard pull tight for +1. That's, to me, under eye two-back power is God's play.
I got to say, I got to agree with you. I know there's going to be some of the duo crowd that might want to argue with that. It's all the rage in football. Well, this is what we do at Trent's Life. We have behind-the-scenes access. We're going around to different camps trying to look at some offensive line. You've been part of a long heritage here. Smash, with Sharon was the offensive line coach here, the first ever team to win back-to-back Joe Moore Awards. The standard is high. Unfortunately for you in your room, that's the standard. Notre Dame, it should be, and Oklahoma and Alabama's, those teams that we've seen it before, that's where everybody's trying to get back to. And you see the sprinklings of it here, man. It's coming. Little sprouts, you've got some young players, but that's the development, and that's what camp is about, and it's just fun. If there's one thing you could guarantee Wolverine fans that they'll see out of your unit, regardless of outcome, regardless of what it looks like, what can you guarantee that they'll see from your room this season?
Sure. I think the first thing I would say is that we talk about just that in our room. Like, there are high expectations each one. We talk about, are you viewing it as an opportunity or as a challenge? Right? Is it a threat or is it an opportunity? But for us, you have to have that mindset, this is opportunity. You get the opportunity to live up to high standards here. And then the thing I would guarantee is we're going to be physical, right? That's what the Michigan offense line has to be. You saw that down the stretch last year. That's got to be us every single game. We line up, doesn't matter what the game calls for, passing the ball, running the ball, shoot, could be playing the entire game in two-back power. We're going to be physical.
Yeah, you heard it here first, fans. Physical football, getting back to what it is they do with a vertical pass or two that I saw today. That's going to be an interesting little wrinkle to the modern football game. Oh, look at you. You made it all the way to the end, grinding through like it's play 18 to 9 on 7. So pancake that subscribe, smash that like button, and pull around the corner to share this with your buddy. Trent's Life rolls best when the whole crew's in the huddle.